Hello and welcome back to another Football Commentaries live stream. It is the main event in the Premier League for this weekend as Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool travel to St James's Park to take on Eddie Howe's Newcastle side. Newcastle started the season with a thumping 5-1 home win against Aston Villa, where the five-star performance got the fans excited for the campaign ahead. It was followed with an away defeat, but it was only to the treble winners Manchester City. However, Liverpool are still unbeaten after their first two games. An away draw at Stamford Bridge was bettered after a 3-1 home. I think we're back again. How rude of it to interrupt my... I think we're okay, but we'll start that again anyway. Hello, welcome back to another Football Commentaries live stream. It is the main event in the Premier League for this weekend as Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool side travel to St James's Park to take on Eddie Howe's Newcastle. And Newcastle started the season with a 5-1 thumping win at home to Aston Villa, where the five-star performance excited the fans ahead for the new campaign. It was followed with an away defeat, but it was to the treble winners Manchester City 1-0. However, Liverpool are still unbeaten after their first two games. An away draw at Stamford Bridge was bettered after a 3-1 home win to Bournemouth, where all of the front three ended up on the score sheet. This fixture has rich history, but the recent meetings have seen Liverpool dominance. The Reds have now completed the league double over Newcastle for the last two seasons, with Newcastle's last league win against Liverpool coming in December 2015 at home, which was Klopp's first ever game against the Magpies. Could the history books start a new chapter today, with Newcastle growing into a team that could be difficult to beat? So for the final Premier League game of the weekend, will Eddie Howe beat Liverpool for the second time in his career, or can Klopp pick up his 10th win against Newcastle United? It's a fantastic way to end the weekend in the Premier League. We've just seen Manchester City scrape past the Blades, Sheffield United away from home, 2-1. The goal scoring started with Erling Haaland after he missed a penalty in the first half. And I think it was the 83rd minute, Jayden Bogle scored an equaliser for Sheffield United, and you thought that would be it, a shock draw result at Bramall Lane, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. Rodri scoring a couple minutes later to give Manchester City the 3 points. Very dramatic, but it's what Manchester City do. It's what they're best at, but we're going to focus here at St James's Park. Newcastle taking on Liverpool. It's a pretty ugly record that Newcastle have got in recent times against Liverpool. No wins in their last 13 against Liverpool. And as I mentioned before, Liverpool have completed the league double over Newcastle in the last two seasons, and obviously more recently last season, where it was a dramatic 2-1 win to start the two meetings off. It was at Anfield. Liverpool won 2-1. Isak on his Newcastle debut put Newcastle 1-0 up in the 38th minute, and then Fabinho in the 61st, and then the 98th minute winner from Fabio Carvalho gave Liverpool the win. And then another game. It was the week before the League Cup final when Newcastle last faced Liverpool, and Núñez and Gakpo scored within 17 minutes to put them 2-0 up. And then in the 22nd minute, you might remember Nick Pope being sent off after coming out of his 18-yard box and messing up a clearance and handling the ball. And that left Newcastle with 10 men and without their goalkeeper for the rest of that match and the League Cup final. So they'll want to try to forget the games they played last season against Liverpool. They don't want them to become a bogey team in any sense, even though it's not a bad team to have as a bogey team. Liverpool, they are pretty impressive, aren't they, when they are on top form? We've got both sets of players down the tunnel. Newcastle being led by Kieran Trippier, and Liverpool being led by new club captain Virgil van Dijk after the departure of Jordan Henderson. Go through both lineups in a minute. Right, we should be back now. I've just restarted it. because I streamed before, my computer sometimes just decides it can't do anymore. So hopefully we're back now. Just give it a little reboot. As both teams enter the hallowed turf of St James's Park. There'll be just over 52,000 in attendance today, packed out. Of course, as always, the away supporters, when they travel to Newcastle, put right at the top of the stadium to the left-hand side. Pretty smart place to put the away fans, really. Get them high away, where they can't be heard as much. I'm hoping we're back on with this and we're okay to keep going. Callum, yes mate, I hope you're doing okay. If there is any issues, just let me know. But we should be okay to get going. Go through the Newcastle lineup first. Nick Pope in goal, as mentioned just before, was sent off in this fixture last season at home in their 2-0 defeat. Meant he missed the League Cup final the week after against Manchester United. Back four, Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Sven Botman and Dan Burn. All five of them, including the goalkeeper, not missing a minute of the new season as of yet. New signing Sandro Tonali will play alongside Brazilians Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton in midfield, and a front three that is unchanged. The whole team is unchanged from their last game against Manchester City. Miguel Almiron on the right, Alexander Isak through the middle, got 2 goals so far. They both came in the opener against Aston Villa, and on the left is Anthony Gordon. Picked up bookings in both of the first 2 games, but he has started both of the first 2 games well, signed in January for 45 million from Everton. And on the bench is Dubravka, Livramento, Lascelles, Target, Longstaff, Anderson, Murphy, Barnes and Wilson as well. For Liverpool, they are going to have Alisson in goal with a back four of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Joel Matip comes in for the injured Ibrahima Konate, Virgil van Dijk, the new captain, and left back Andy Robertson. Completely new midfield for the new season. Wataru Endo joins from Stuttgart for just over £15 million. He starts with Dominic Szoboszlai and Alexis McAllister, both joining for 60 million and 35 million respectively, with a front three of Mo Salah. Despite being linked away with a move to Saudi Arabia, he starts on the right hand side. An assist against Chelsea and a goal against Bournemouth has kick-started his new campaign. Luis Diaz on the left, he scored in both of Liverpool's first 2 games against Chelsea and Bournemouth, and Cody Gakpo will start through the middle, yet to complete a full 90 minutes. Cody Gakpo, he was subbed off in the 66th minute against Chelsea and the 63rd against Bournemouth, but the Dutchman did score last season at this ground in the 2-0 win at St James's Park for Liverpool. Scored alongside Darwin Nunez, who's on the bench, and this is Liverpool's bench: Kelleher, Gomez, Kwanzaa, Tsimikas, Bajcetic, Elliott, Doak, Jota, and, as I just mentioned, Nunez on the bench for the 3rd time in a row. Yet to start in the Premier League, Darwin Nunez played just over 25 minutes against Chelsea and was a very late substitute appearance against Bournemouth as well. So not quite sure what's going on with the Uruguayan. He's being selected over Jota. Usually when he starts, when they've got 4 attackers on the pitch, he's still picking Jota over Nunez. And now they've gone for a forward 3. Jota has dropped to the bench. 2 changes from the last game against Bournemouth for Liverpool. Konate dropped. He's out with a muscle injury and he's been replaced by Matip, and Jota has been dropped to the bench and he has been replaced by Wataru Endo, the holding midfielder, and Liverpool have gone back to their usual solid 4-3-3 with that holding midfielder. As we're about to get underway, Liverpool kicking left to right, Newcastle right to left at St James's Park. Final game of the Premier League weekend. Szoboszlai plays it back to Joel Matip, halfway inside his own half. Diagonal ball out towards Luis Diaz, cut out by Newcastle. It's found Gordon, who's tackled strongly by Alexander-Arnold, and he plays it through to Dominic Szoboszlai, right-hand side of the box. Botman's there to slow him down towards the byline, tries to pull back. It's blocked by Botman. Corner kick for Liverpool. Rapid start for the Reds. Salah played it into the path of Alexander-Arnold. First time ball down the right channel, finding Szoboszlai, the Hungarian, as he tried to work a cross away from Sven Botman. The former Lille defender blocked it. And a corner's been conceded. Great start for Liverpool. Newcastle and Liverpool both in their home kits for today's game. Alexander-Arnold outswing. It's a deep one. Pope's come for it. He's not got there. I think Van Dijk was the one who won the header, but it was looped over, and Matip was up there as well. Not quite sure who won that header. In it went. It's a deep one towards the 6-yard line. I think it was Matip who got his head to it. Pope came for it and completely missed it. The former Burnley goalkeeper. Matip was the one who rose the highest, but headed over the crossbar. Not quite sure what the timer is, because the timer on Sky Sports did mess up there. So I'll get the timer started as soon as it's been sorted on the TV. As we return with a Liverpool throw-in midway inside the Newcastle half. It's been a positive start for Jurgen Klopp, unbeaten in his first 2 for the season. Newcastle fell to a defeat last week to Manchester City. Van Dijk sweeping ball out to the right-hand side to Mo Salah, but he was caught in an offside position. And the free kick's been taken quickly by Dan Burn. And there he is, Jurgen Klopp. This is game 299 in the Premier League for the German. One away from the 300 mark, which he'll pick up next week when Liverpool welcome the visit of Aston Villa, a team that Newcastle have already played and beaten 5-1, as Salah's nearly been fed into the box there, but Botman cuts it out, falls to Trippier in the right back position for Newcastle, bursts forward, tries to play it through towards Isak, cut out by Van Dijk just inside his own half, and sends it down the Liverpool left channel, which will be collected by Nick Pope, who's out of his box again against Liverpool, but doesn't handle it this time. He clears with the right boot, and it's a throw-in for Liverpool inside the Newcastle half in a yellowy green kit, kind of light yellow. Nick Pope. Still no timer on the screen yet, so I can't get that underway for you. I do apologise. I don't even know what minute and what seconds we've played so far as Matip adventures forward. Goes inside to Gakpo, who's been caught late there by Fabian Schär, the Swiss international. That's a free kick for Liverpool. Number 18, Cody Gakpo brought down. Be left for Alexander-Arnold to take. It's just 15 yards inside the Newcastle half. Endo goes to the halfway line to Matip. And here we go. We're now on the timer. It's just over 3 minutes in. Van Dijk, halfway inside his own half, goes to Alexander-Arnold, who's just drifting inside into that midfield position from right back. As it's Matip, more in a right back position, will just about dribble into the Newcastle half and play it forward and through, looking in behind for Szoboszlai, but the Hungarian was offside, so he leaves it. And Newcastle can pick up the pieces again with possession just outside their own box. Now played forward to Bruno Guimaraes, out to right back Kieran Tierney, back to the edge of his own box to Fabian Schär, being pressed by Gakpo. It's now back to Pope, who's got lots of time in his 18-yard box and plays it across to number 4 Sven Botman. Got 1 assist in that opening game, the centre-back against Aston Villa in that 5-1 win, which started the season very strongly for the Magpies. And here is one of the shining sparks of the new season. Sandro Tonali takes on one Liverpool man and tries to play it down the right channel for Newcastle. No one's there to really chase it, and it will be collected by Van Dijk near the corner flag and played inside to Alisson in the 18-yard box. And it's possession regained for Liverpool. He was the opening scorer for Newcastle, Sandro Tonali. Last week, scored early on against Aston Villa as there was a handball there by Bruno Guimaraes. Accidental, but his arm was in an unnatural position. And that'll be a free kick for Liverpool just inside their own half. It's where Wataru Endo, the Japanese international, signed. Bit of a panic buy. They missed out on both Lavia and Caicedo to Chelsea. So they've brought in Endo, the Japanese international, 30 years of age, just for over £15 million. Came off the bench last week against Bournemouth, as they have to see that game out with 10 men due to the red card of Alexis McAllister. As we've had an incident here as Alexander-Arnold was shoved into the, I think it was the Liverpool technical area, and then Trent Alexander-Arnold threw the ball towards Dan Burn. Not quite sure who's been given the yellow card here, but a free kick for Liverpool's been taken quickly, and they're now into the final third of the Newcastle half. Oh, Mo Salah takes on Dan Burn, goes a long way round the 6'7" giant, and then the recovery from Dan Burn gets it off the Egyptian in the box, and Anthony Gordon now tries to bring it away. Goes around Alexander-Arnold, shoves him to the ground, and I think The Newcastle fans want a yellow card. Anthony Gordon was just booked for shoving. Bit of confusion here. So just before, Alexander-Arnold was fouled by Anthony Gordon with a shove in the back to the ground, and Anthony Gordon was booked. And then Alexander-Arnold has just shoved Anthony Gordon to the ground, and the referee looks like he's not going to be given the yellow card. We talk about a lack of consistency by officials, and we see it there. No yellow card for Alexander-Arnold for a mirror-like challenge. Both pushing each other in the back, and only one picking up a booking. Crazy, absolutely crazy, but it remains 0-0, and it's only Anthony Gordon with the yellow card. It's in the right back area now for Newcastle, plays it inside to Guimaraes, ball forward to Isak. He's allowed to turn forward here and spray it out to the left hand side. It's just gone behind Joe Linton and it runs out of play. Needs to be better from Alexander Isak, as Joe Linton was in a lot of room there down the left hand side. There's Anthony Gordon charging down the left, and he was just met with a swinging arm across him from Alexander-Arnold. For me, if you give one a booking, you've got to give the other one a booking as well. But the referee for today, John Brooks, decides to not book Alexander-Arnold as Endo heads it on to the halfway line towards Diaz, as he caught late there by Trippier. The referee allows play to continue as it's Andy Robertson on the ball, tussling there with Sandro Tonali, but it's Newcastle to come out with it with Almiron. There's a bit of spice to this game, a bit of heat to this game, as the Newcastle fans are getting right involved in it. As Fabian Schär's pushed to the ground, but he sends away Anthony Gordon down the left. Even off balance, he finds a fantastic ball into the final third. The number 10, Anthony Gordon, one-on-one with Alexander-Arnold. Tries to go the long way around the right back, but he's well defended against by Alexander-Arnold. And it's a great sweeping ball towards Gakpo on halfway. Well dealt with by Botman, but Joe Linton loses out to Alexis McAllister, and as he looks to enter the Newcastle half on the right-hand side. He does do so with a nice 1-2 with Mohamed Salah. Bit of room now for McAllister to run into on the right-hand side. Tries to play it inside towards Gakpo. It's blocked and out for a corner for Liverpool. It's exciting, frantic opening 8 minutes to the game. It's got a bit of heat to it. I like it. Anthony Gordon, Alexander-Arnold. Both giving it to each other. Bit of a shove, bit of a pull. The fact that he's given one a booking and not the other is quite ridiculous there, John Brooks, the referee. And I think Alexander-Arnold has now... he was booked. I didn't see that. Alexander-Arnold has been booked. Just come up there, confirmation on the screen. We've got a corner for Liverpool. In swinger, Robertson. Pope comes again. He misses again. It falls all the way through to Salah. He's got his back to goal. He's being pressured by Sandro Tonali, who can't win the ball off him the first time. Trippier comes to help and wins it a second time. And down the line it goes towards Guimaraes, but the play's been stopped as it's a free kick for Newcastle. Salah pulling back Trippier as he'd lost the ball there, the Egyptian. He's going to have his work cut out today, referee John Brooks. Refereed Newcastle and Liverpool twice last season. He refereed Newcastle against Brentford and Bournemouth at home. And he refereed Liverpool twice. Their 1-0 loss away at Bournemouth. And their home draw at the end of the season against Aston Villa. There's Jurgen Klopp talking with one of his assistants there, Peter Kravitz. And Pep Lijnders will also be there. Klopp is clearly not happy. As Pope takes that that free kick towards the right hand side. It's won by Almiron, cut out by Van Dijk and hooked away by Andy Robertson. Just inside the Newcastle half, it'll be shared to head on towards Isak, who just shoves Endo in the back, which means his head is misplaced and it falls to Almiron, who goes back to the halfway line to Kieran Trippier, the Newcastle captain, signed in January of 2022 from Atletico Madrid for £12 million plus add-ons. Won a league title in his time there in 2021, working under Diego Simeone, as Gordon's been looked for on the Newcastle left, cut out by Alexander-Arnold. On the Liverpool right, it's fell to Salah, forward to Szoboszlai, cuts inside on halfway, met by a big challenge from Joe Linton, but the tackle deflects back off Szoboszlai into Cody Gakpo, who goes then left looking for Endo, cut out by Almiron midway inside his own half. Good defending from the Paraguayan. Trippier lifts it in, looking towards, I think that was Sandro Tonali for Newcastle, but it's gone over him and away from him, and it's back in Liverpool possession. With left back Andy Robertson, formerly of Hull City, playing a ball down the line towards no one in red. It'll fall right through to Dutchman Sven Botman, the 23-year-old. Won a title in the same season as Kieran Trippier, won one at Atletico Madrid. Sven Botman with Lille, beating PSG to the title. Just on the edge of the 18-yard box is Fabian Schär. Goes to his right to Kieran Trippier down the line to Almiron. He's back to the Liverpool goal, so he's been forced towards his own goal. Back to Trippier. Ball inside. Can't find Guimaraes. It's picked up by Szoboszlai, and it's Liverpool in possession. 11 minutes played, still 0-0. No real big chances as of yet. Pope's flapped at a few corners, but no shots on at goal of any note. Second commentary of the day. The next one is coming on Tuesday night. Salford taking on Leeds. Alisson looking for Salah, cut out, and it drops to Newcastle in the end. Oh, it's a hook over his head and a great turn from Guimaraes. He's now got a battle with Alexis McAllister, and he's been fouled by the Argentine World Cup winner, and that'll be a free kick for Newcastle. Flicked it over his head and got onto the ball there. Guimaraes, great skill from the former Lyon midfielder, and then he was pulled back in the end by McAllister, who was wrongfully sent off last week and had it overturned, his red card dismissal. That's why he's in the team today. Signed for an initial fee of 35 million. Alexis McAllister. It could rise to 55 with performance add-ons. But it's central on the field, dead down the centre. So it's an awkward ball to cross. So they might try and work it out wide to the left or the right to put a cross in the box. But they have got height. Botman's in there. Joe Linton. You've also got Dan Burn as well, the obvious target. 6'7". Trippier glided in towards Dan Burn. Header won by Gakpo in the box. It will drop to Luis Diaz in the left-back position. His clearance deflects off Almiron. And it'll be a throw-in for Liverpool towards their own corner flag on the left-hand side. Diaz just holding his left leg there. As I think as he cleared the ball, I think he was just caught by Almiron as he went to block it. Don't think it was on purpose there. From Almiron, who last season scored 8 goals in 9 from October to December, and also won Player of the Month in October. But the goals have dried up since then, really. Diaz has it from Endo's clearance. Only as far as Joe Linton, who wins it back in the Liverpool half. Trippier forced back into his own half with a pass to Fabian Schär. So Newcastle can keep possession of the ball. Only got 1 win in their first 7 games last season, Newcastle. You might think that's really bad, but 5 of those 7 games were draws. They drew a lot of games last season, Newcastle, which led them to, get into the top 4, but it could have been a lot of a higher position if they could have converted some of those draws into wins. They ended up with, last season, 14 draws, which is absolutely ridiculous, and only 5 losses, and that was the same as what Manchester City picked up as well, and they also conceded the same amount as Man City. So defensively, they were sound. It was more scoring the goals to win the games. Tonali floats across in, headed away by Van Dijk on the edge of the 18-yard box, goes all the way across to the left-hand side to Anthony Gordon, shaping up one-on-one on Mo Salah, plays it inside to Guimaraes, 30 yards out, diagonal ball towards the byline on the right-hand side, brought down momentarily by Kieran Trippier, but his touch is just in front of him, and he runs out of room on the pitch, and that's a goal kick for Liverpool. Good attacking play there from Trippier to get in that position, couldn't quite keep it in. Has faced Liverpool in a Champions League final, Kieran Trippier. 10 losses against Liverpool in 13 previous appearances. One of them in that Champions League final. As Liverpool play out from the back. Robertson at left back. Down the channel to the left-hand side. Held up nicely by Diaz. Gets McAllister into play. Tries to go centrally to Gakpo. Cut out by Joe Linton. And they restart on halfway with Bruno Guimaraes. Slows it down to Trippier. Gets the ball again. Guimaraes here just inside his own half. Botman sprays it out to the left-hand side to Anthony Gordon, formerly of Everton. Likes the fixture against Liverpool. Inside to Guimaraes. Big switch out to Almiron. Great chested touch by the Paraguayan. And it's still alive here for Newcastle. Inside to Guimaraes. Back out. Tried to find Almiron's run again on the edge of the box. It eventually does drop to Gordon as Guimaraes wins it back. Isak. Joe Linton first time. Left-hand side of the box. Tried it. Straight down the throat of Alisson. Not a bad attempt from Joe Linton, who just peeled out to the left-hand side, just in behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. Didn't quite notice that the Brazilian was behind him, and as it was worked to the former Hoffenheim forward, now midfielder, just tamely hit it right at Alisson, unfortunately, for Newcastle. Again, Robertson at left-back, down the line. Doesn't find Diaz, he's gone inside, and Robertson had put a ball down the outside. It's now with Guimaraes, looking to the left-hand side, finds Joe Linton, pokes it away from Salah to Gordon. Now Dan Burn. Joe Linton goes inside into the centre circle where Guimaraes has it. Botman, ball stuck under his foot, but is able to get it sorted and get it into Gordon. 1-2 with Joe Linton. It's Anthony Gordon again. Edge of the box, fancies a shot, does shoot, deflects, easy save for Alisson. But there's a first couple shots for Newcastle. They're playing well. Good start. At this time, in their last game against Liverpool at home, they were 2-0 down. They were 2-0 down in 17 minutes. Alexander-Arnold gets on the Alisson throw and heads it in front of Dan Burn and gets away from the left back. Then a ball inside towards Gakpo. It's short. Cher picks it up. Plays it to Guimaraes, who turns away from Endo. Tries to play it through towards Isak in the centre circle, but cut out by Matip. He then plays it to Szoboszlai. Works it to the left of Diaz. Great ball from the Hungarian. It's down the Colombian. Luis Diaz. 1-on-1 with Trippier. Goes on the inside. Gets away from the fullback. In the box. Can he work a shot? Saved by Pope. Toe pecked at the near post by the former Porto winger, and it was well saved by number 22, Nick Pope. He was well worked to the left-hand side there by Szoboszlai. Luis Diaz had Trippier on toast. Burst in. Sandro Tonali couldn't stop him from shooting. Toe peck with the right foot towards the near post. May have just been hitting the post, but Pope wasn't to know. So diverted for a Liverpool corner. It'll be an outswinger. Robertson taking them from both sides. The usual suspects are in there. Joel Matip, Virgil van Dijk, Gakpo as well. They're the three main ones with height. In it goes towards the penalty spot. Dan Burn with the header away. Back towards Robertson, who will let it roll out for a Liverpool throw-in. Danger diverted for now. Thrown back towards halfway to McAllister. Across it goes to Alexander-Arnold. The reverse sweeping ball in the box looking for Luis Diaz on the left, but it's chested back to Nick Pope by Captain Trippier. And Newcastle survive that Liverpool scare. Control to the edge of the box to Fabian Cher. Played the most ever games in one season for Newcastle in the league last year. Fabian Cher, 36 appearances he made in the Premier League. The second best he'd ever done was the season before, where he'd only played 25. So, really consistent season for the Swiss international last season. 31 years of age now, Fabian Cher. Still not one of the ones that Eddie Howe felt the need to replace. Joined in 2018 from Deportivo in Spain for £3 million. What a signing he's been. And as Newcastle were playing out from the back there, Mo Salah intercepted one of the passes and deflected it out for a goal kick. And that will now be taken by Nick Pope towards the Newcastle right. Trippier tries to flick it on. He does do so towards Almiron. Header won by Robertson. Back to Trippier, who nods it on this time to Almiron, who helps it on once more towards Isak. Cut out by Van Dijk with a header halfway inside his own half. Cleared forward to the halfway line now to Mo Salah. Ends up dropping to Cher, who heads it forward to Joe Linton. Guimaraes, the two Brazilians linking up in a nice swift ball out to the left to Dan Burn, who enters the Liverpool half. Joe Linton to Gordon. Joe Linton again. Tackled by Endo. Salah keeps it in. Burn clears down the line always far. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold, and it's Liverpool back in possession in their own half with Wataru Endo. McAllister being pressed here by Sandro Tonali. Just about shifts it to Trent Alexander-Arnold down the right channel. Looking for Salah. Runs out of room. Throwing for Newcastle just in front of their technical area where Eddie Howe is. It's now Joe Linton who gets it from Dan Burn. He's got Gordon to his left. He will go backwards instead to number 8, Tonali. Back in inside it goes to Sven Botman. Well kept there by the Italian. Signed from AC Milan. £55 million ball over the top down the right. Look for Trippier. Can't be found. Overhit by Fabian Cher. Big goal kick for Liverpool. It's been a crazy, pedantic first 20 minutes, and it remains 0-0 here at St James's Park. The last 11 games of last season, Liverpool went unbeaten, winning 7,